Okay, so I want to do a quick video here to kind of help explain what is considered going a little bit too far back on the ERG, because I know there's some questions around that right now. So on the ERG, I think some of you guys that I started talking to over the past couple weeks, going to the different group ERG sessions, I've kind of highlighted you really want to be cutting off your power once that lower hand gets to the hip, and then naturally there's going to be a little bit of a follow through. So when you pull really hard on the paddle, right, naturally when you cut off your power, just like in a golf swing, just like in a baseball bat swing, once you make contact with the ball, right, or once you kind of cut off your power, naturally, because there's so much momentum in your swing or in your pull, there's naturally going to be a little bit of follow through. And you don't want to cut off abruptly, because then when you think about cutting off abruptly at that point, you actually are cutting off your power a little bit earlier. So you'll notice here on the right side is what I would consider pulling back to the right point. And obviously your camera angle is also going to kind of affect how far that looks back. But you can see here, what you want to focus on if you're going to take video and look at it is what your hands are doing, what your core is doing once your lower hand gets to the hip. You should see relaxation starting. So you'll see right as I approach my hip, right, you'll see carefully my wrist here starts flexing, starts some flexion. And that's because I'm starting my relaxation. You can visually see my top hand is relaxing as soon as I hit that hip area. But because of that follow through, okay, there is still a little bit of motion. And obviously, if we take a look at the front view, you'll actually see that my top hand is dropping inwards during this. I know side view might be a little bit harder to see, but this is definitely what I would consider not too far back. So too far back is what we see on the left side screen. So there's some of you guys, there's some of us that will think about trying to get those extra meters by really trying to push that back end. So here you can see if I don't actually start. So right here, I hit the hip right here. So now I'm looking on this left side here. When I get to my hip section, I'm still trying to force that top hand down. And so this extra bump here, you can see it goes way further back. And then I start trying to swing around when I get back there. Right? So there's two very different points of exit there. So this is going way too far back on this side, right? And you can visually see that. Okay? So this is definitely what we don't want on this side. But generally speaking, right, if your top hand goes a little bit past your knee on that follow through, and that lower hand goes a little bit past your hip on the follow through, that's not a significant problem. What we're really making sure you guys don't do is your paddle angle gets to here. So once your paddle angle gets to around this angle, right, gets to around this angle, we don't want to see you trying to really push your top hand really hard back out this way. So right here, this little extra push right here is what we don't want to see. Because when you're in the water, if you imagine your blade is kind of like a knife, right? If you push really hard this way, your blade's just kind of slicing through the water. You're not really holding too much pressure. Right here, when you're finishing the pull, when you get to the hip, because your blade is still at kind of this angle and we're moving through this position, okay, at these angles, you still get a little bit of bump from the back end. All right, I think that kind of demonstrates. So that's what I look for when I say you're pulling too far back. All right.